From AOC and Alex Jones to Nick Fuentes and Zohran Mamdani, I want to cover the A to Z of malignant narcissism that mutates into political extremism. People who are more obsessed with attention than they are with solving problems. These are not the only examples of malignant narcissism that has morphed into political extremism. I mean, Adolf Hitler. I mean, if there's a dead horse worth continuing to beat, I would say Adolf Hitler is quite possibly within living memory the most obvious example of malignant narcissism that became beyond political extremism. And just about most any other dictator, for that matter. Fidel Castro from Cuba, since my family is from there, I'm painfully aware of how one person, almost just one person, and their indomitable, if I'm saying that right, indomitable will can take over. Well, here in the United States, we've seen it with Donald Trump. The difference between Donald Trump and Fidel Castro is at least Donald Trump understands basic economics. At least he's directionally correct for issues that really can make or break a nation. The way he goes about it at times, very debatable, but I voted for him even after January 6th because there was no way I could vote for Kamala Harris, another malignant narcissist. There's just no way I could vote for her. But coming back to AOC and Alex Jones, as well as Nick Fuentes and Zohran Mamdani, I'm trying to be a little clever, A to Z on this, but it's more than anything from the left to the right. This is not just a problem on one side or the other, and it's really disturbing how many major media outlets will pick and choose who they want to expose and even vilify as bad faith actors. You know, PBS, for example, PBS, public broadcasting, they're never going to expose AOC and Zohran Mamdani for who they are. Now, Fox News will expose Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones, but I think they've mostly ignored Alex Jones. But it is amazing how many other people, like Joe Rogan, for example, who I still watch and listen to, especially when he has people like Elon Musk on. I don't think Joe Rogan's going to really be doing a whole, in-depth question and answer session with Alex Jones himself about Sandy Hook. And I'm bringing up Alex Jones also because I just recently saw a documentary on HBO about, I think it's titled Alex Jones versus the People. And how many people still admire this guy, despite how he knowingly, he's not stupid, how he knowingly ruined the lives of the parents of the Sandy Hook victims, of the Sandy Hook mass shooting victims. And it's just insane. It's insane. And I think what happens is that since this is going to sound a little grandiose, and this could probably serve as a lecture in a sociology class. And sociology is not that bad either. It's not entirely useless. But speaking of sociology, we're social creatures. And no one's born with an instruction manual. And it is a damn shame that we all operate from this monkey see, monkey do behavioral pattern. And so we need to survive. And most people tend to want to emulate those who are more successful. When I was younger, the people that I was monkey see, monkey doing was rock stars, particularly David Lee Roth, Vince Neil, Kiss. You name the rock star during the 1970s and 80s, and when I was a teenager, that's who I was idolizing. That's why I wanted to be. Until I started growing up and realizing, okay, rock stardom definitely has its flaws. I still think it must be the best career to have, but forget it. That train for me has passed. That ship has sailed, and it has gone over the horizon and just become a spaceship and gone off into another galaxy. That's never going to happen for me. And by the way, that's why I can slightly relate to the narcissism and the attention-seeking drive of people like AOC and Nick Fuentes and Zohran Mamdani. I unfortunately, that's one of the traits of myself that I hate that I'm somewhat of an attention-seeking egomaniac, but I'm not a malignant narcissist. I know that much. I would never knowingly hurt other people for attention at all. And when it comes to someone like Nick Fuentes, I don't believe he really admires Adolf Hitler. But that man-child is so obsessed with attention that he'd rather be hated than ignored. I'm almost willing to bet that's the case with this guy. I'm willing to bet that's the case. Now, I don't doubt that he's quite racist. And he actually came up with one video on, the problem with Black Americans that I've even seen a lot of, I think, conservative Black YouTubers be like, well, you know what? He's kind of made some good points there. There is a problem with criminality and the fact that I think well over 50% of violent crimes and murders and RAPE, because I don't want this video to be, I know it's not even going to be monetized, but I just don't want this video to be completely restricted. When you look at the majority of crime in the United States, I think close to 50% is committed by Black American and young Black American males. That needs to be pointed out. That's not racist. It's necessary to call that out. Okay? But Nick Fuentes is like a broken clock. He's bound to be correct twice a day at least. So it's one thing for him to point out things that need to be known that people like AOC and Zohran Mamdani and PBS are never going to touch. But his whole anti-Semitism, and the fact that he makes it a joke and his just clearly, I don't even think they're dim-witted, low IQ arguments about Jewish people. And here's what I do think he does believe. I wouldn't be surprised if he's hyper-Christian. By the way, I grew up Catholic too, but I'm atheist because it's false, but I don't want to get sidetracked with that. I wouldn't be surprised if a large majority of Nick Fuentes' anti-Semitism, as well as Kanye West's anti-Semitism, and most Christians' anti-Semitism at the very least, is because supposedly the Jews killed Jesus. It's so pathetic that our species still functions this way. And I still remember that as a kid, growing up Catholic and going to Catholic private school my entire life. Come Christmas time, when they would show you, before you could enjoy the fun of Christmas and opening up your presents, no, they had to guilt you with the Jesus of Nazareth story. And in almost every single Jesus of Nazareth story, there's the scene of the shifty Jews, almost literally behind a corner. They're just waiting. They're just like rubbing their hands to kill Jesus. That's what our species unfortunately does. It kills a lot of people, to say the least. And look, I'm trying to work out certain ideas. I had a whole outline of things that I wanted to point out, but I don't want to make this video too long. But what I do want to point out is the A to Z of malignant narcissism of people on the extreme left, like AOC and Zohran Mamdani, and people on the extreme right, like Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones, and quite a few other people. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is now also, she's becoming quite anti-Israel, and I guarantee it's also because the Jews killed Jesus. I bet you that fart is ricocheting through her brain. And not an entirely stupid woman either, though she did fall for QAnon. It's just, and that's the thing. One point I would like to bring up for anybody who's still watching this video. There's a reason why these people rise to the highest levels of our attention and even to the highest levels of government. In the case of AOC, she's in Congress and she's being spoken about. This dangerously dumb woman is being spoken about as a possible 2028 presidential candidate. By the way, yo soy Latino también. I will shamelessly call her out for her dangerously dumb ideas. And I don't care that she's a Latina. We can't let this woman skate on that other form of a race card. People like her, Zohran Mamdani, who now is the mayor of New York City, they've risen to the highest levels of government. And people like Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones are still up there. They're still up there. And the reason why they get there is because these people put in the time. These people will put in the energy and the money to do what it takes to get there. That's how much they care about attention. That's how much they need to be either adored. I don't even know if they care to be loved, but they want to be adored. They want to be known. And I kind of get that. I understand. I think almost everybody does. We want our lives to be meaningful. We want to make a difference. And I'll tell you my ulterior motive. I want to see problems get solved. And even better than getting them solved, having them avoided in the first place. And it's hard to do it with people like this, making it to the highest levels of influence that end up, unfortunately, shape-shifting our civilization, at least in the United States. All four of these people, they represent the double-edged sword of democracy and freedom. I'm still all for freedom, especially freedom of expression and particularly freedom of thought, even if your freedom of thought leads you to demonstrably false religious ideas that not everybody gets over. Not everybody manages to see through the falsehoods of whatever religion they grew up with. And I'm still definitely all for democracy. I do not want the murderous dictatorship that took over Cuba like a cancer and drove my family to have to come to the United States. I'm all for democracy too. But if people don't inform themselves and if more people don't speak out about the things that are obviously wrong in our society, we're going to continue having these AOCs and Zohran Mamdanis on the left and the Nick Fuenteses and the Alex Joneses on the right. And they could get worse and worse and worse. I hope this all makes sense. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out the links below for my original art and merchandise like this shirt that I have. Think outside your tribe. We need more people to do that. There's a time and place to be liberal. There's a time and place to be conservative, but nobody has to be a Republican, much less a Democrat, especially Democrats nowadays. That party is going the way of the Bolsheviks. I don't know. Oh. Anywho, with all that said, thanks for watching.